What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be going over Heroic Anduin, and I think this fight was really interesting because of how many different styles you could play the fight. The approach that I took was playing single target destruction. However, you can use Wilfred's as destruction, and you can also play Demo on it. There haven't been any AF parses as of yet, or any kills as Affliction, but there are two different styles of destruction you can play, and then there's one demonology. So I chose the single target destruction, meaning I went for Madness of Vazakir, the legendary, which gives you buffed Chaos Bolt after you cast a Chaos Bolt. Um, and so I'm going to go in through kind of how to play the fight if you are using this legendary, and I'll also talk about if you're using Wilfred's, when would be times to use Infernals and how to get the best value and such. So, right off the bat, the pre-pull is incredibly important. So I drop my Infernal around 5 seconds. And the reason why I do that is you want to have your Infernal as soon as the Lich King comes up in phase 2 in the intermission. So as you can see, I'll drop it here, and then I am just popping all my cooldowns at the start. So this damage isn't too relevant, since a lot of the burn is, when you get to the intermission phase or phase 2. But, I mean, doing some extra damage here, it's always helpful, right? Makes the boss lower. So I'm popping all my cooldowns, soaking the first barrier. After my Infernal and all my cooldowns are down, just spreading. And the way that I played using this legendary was I would stack up my shards generally to around 4 full shards, and then I would cast a Chaos Bolt, cast an Incinerate or a Conflagrate, and then I would follow up with a Chaos Bolt. So Chaos Bolt, Incinerate, Conflagrate, or Conflagrate, and then another Chaos Bolt. And the reason why you want to do that is to get value out of the buff. So since it's like a 4-second buff, you're able to kind of squeeze in a filler spell every time you Chaos Bolt. So not too much happens here in phase 1. It's just spreading out, soaking the right colors, breaking the shield. But a lot of the damage comes in at phase 2. However, there are some times where you may need to go downstairs, and you have to kill the big ad and a couple small ads downstairs. So right here would be one of the groups that would go downstairs. If you are assigned to go downstairs in your group or in your raid, I think going Wilfred's is the play, because you will be able to have 2-minute cooldowns up for that phase if you need it. I found that, my group found that I didn't really need that much help down there. So I was able to focus more on the burn phase, and I didn't have to actually go in the underground phase. So up here, it's not too much happening. It's just the same thing as happening before. Soaking the barrier, spreading out, avoiding stars. So we're just going to skip forward here into the intermission. So intermission's happening. I have about 13 seconds on my Infernal, so the Lich King will come out in about 8 seconds. Here I'm just building my shards, so that way I have a lot of shards as the Lich King comes out. So I'm channeling my Trinket here. I always try to save my Cataclysm and my Soul Rot and everything and Potion for this phase, because you are bursting as much as you can here. So as the little ads come out, I'm waiting for them to get a little bit closer. I Soul Rot, and then I'm going to cast my Cataclysm. And the reason why you want this is you want to have as many immolates out as much as possible, so that way you get like infinite shards with Bloodlust and everything. So I got PI here, so I'm able to shoot Chaos Bolts like really fast. On Heroic, there's an ad, the Monstrous Soul, that pops out, and he's pretty much a priority. So I always Havoc, save my Havoc for the ad when it comes out, and I'm usually hitting the boss because the first one dies really fast with Bloodlust, but in the second intermission without Lust, I'm like single targeting that thing now. can see here, just tunneling the boss. Like I'm just pumping as many Chaos Bolts as possible in my Infernal window to do as much as I can to the boss. And so the second wave comes out of ads, same thing here. Waiting for them to get a little bit closer. Cataclysm to set up my immolates. And now I'm single targeting the Monstrous Soul while havocing onto the boss. The reason why you want to target the ad here is because he casts an ability that is uninterruptible, and if it goes off, you pretty much wipe. So it needs to die before this Necrotic Detonation cast goes off. So as you can see, I have two full shards here, or full shards here for 2 Chaos Bolts, and I'm just going to be pumping it into the ad just to finish it off. And now we're going to go back into phase 1, and that's pretty much the fight for the most of it. Like, this is what you're going to be doing the whole time. You're just going to be saving your cooldowns for the intermission phase. And then I'll talk a little bit about this phase here. So there are going to be ads that spawn, and you want to CC pretty much all the ones that you're not currently killing. I always save my Soul Rot and Cataclysm and Havoc for this part also. So I'm always just having my Havoc on the boss, and I'm just single targeting whatever ad that we are currently hitting. So right here we're hitting the middle one, and then we move on over once that one's dead, and I'm still getting some cleave onto the boss. So this fight becomes a lot easier the more damage you're able to do to Anduin in the beginning phases, and how much boss damage you have during the Lich King phase. You want to have him probably around 20%, preferably lower whenever you go into that final phase in phase 3. Just so you don't have to deal with as many mechanics. It makes the fight just a lot easier that way. So kind of skim through here, just avoiding stars, soaking the barriers, and soaking the circles. And that's pretty much just how this phase goes. Same thing here, just targeting the ads, cleaving the boss whenever I have Havoc up. A note, something that's really important about this part is if you do get targeted with a star, you do not want to be anywhere near an ad, because if you hit the ad with a star, it'll make them immune to CC. They'll like chain cast a fear, and then you all die. So make sure you're positioned correctly so that there is no ad behind you when it shoots out the star. So here we're finishing up the last ad, and we're about to transition into the second phase 2. And so we're transitioning into phase 2. My Infernal is up, and so is my Dark Soul. My Soul Rot will be up. I'll have my Trinket up. And we're just trying to do as much damage to Anduin here as we can, because he won't phase until we kill this ad, basically. And so we're keeping the ad alive, and we're just hitting Anduin as much as we can. So that's why we kind of kept this ad alive, and we're just kind of targeting it. We're interrupting it, but we're not like hard focusing it. So as you can see, as soon as the ad died, that, you know, Anduin went to the middle. So same thing here. I get ready, use my Trinket, and as soon as the Lich King comes out, I'm hitting him. And I'm waiting here for the ad to spawn. So I already popped my Infernal. I'm going to Cataclysm, Soul Rot, Dark Soul, and then as soon as the monstrous ad comes out, I'm targeting that. Right, so I have my Havoc on it, and I'm ready to pump Chaos Bolt into it. So the only difference in the intermission here is there's these walking skeletons. If they hit you, they stun you and do a ton of damage, and potentially just one-shot you, so you just have to avoid them. That's the only real difference between the first intermission and the second one. So here I'm just trying to position myself so that way I'm free to cast, so I don't have to move too much from these walls. So you can see, found the free spot was right here. Casting my Cataclysm. And here I have Havoc on the boss, and I'm just targeting the big ad. Because I know that if this ad dies, the fight is pretty much over. It's pretty much a free fight once you get out of this phase. And so we kill this ad, and then I'm just doing as much damage to the boss as possible. So all the damage that you do to the Lich King goes to Anduin. As you can see, we got him here to 15% before we hit the final phase. So that makes this part a lot easier. I have about a minute and a half on my Infernal left, and I will definitely get another one here because this phase is kind of long. So in this phase, you just want to spread out. You don't want to be anywhere near anyone with these circles. You're going to be in a group. So we had one group go. I happen to be the second group. And as soon as our debuff falls off, we all go in. So our debuff falls off. We dip in. We wait for the debuff to fall off. The next group will go in. And then you just run into melee. And that is pretty much the entire fight here. It's pretty straightforward. After the nerfs, this fight got significantly easier. Just being able to do more damage to Anduin and not having as many ads to deal with earlier. So at this point, I'm just preparing for my next Infernal. So I'm just going to skip a little bit ahead here. Doing the same thing, just, waiting for my Infernal to come up. So as you can see, I got about 15 seconds here. The boss is at about 6.5%. So I'm just building shards for my Infernal. I also have my pot here, so I use my trinket, Infernal, Soul Rot, Dark Lair, or not Dark Lair, Dark Soul, and I'm just pumping into the boss here. And then he eventually dies. And that's pretty much the fight. It wasn't too complicated. However, I really enjoyed it. There was a lot of little things you can do to get extra damage in. However, if you are playing Destruction and you are using Madness of Azakir, I would just really focus on doing as much damage to the boss as you can during the intermission phase. So you're doing as much damage to the Remnant as you can. And then also always having your Havoc up for that phase, making sure you have your Havoc either on the boss or the ad, saving all your cooldowns, because that phase is really what makes the fight a lot easier. If you're able to get Anduin a lot lower, it makes the next, it makes phase 3 a lot easier. As you can see here, we got him to 15%, and we still had an Infernal ready to go before the boss even died. So I'll go over kind of some key points that I went over already, but using your Infernal pre-pull, so that way it's up exactly as when you hit the intermission phase, that part is really important. If you are using Wilfred's for like a 2-ish minute Infernal, then you can use it pretty much, you hold it on pull and you use it whenever you go downstairs. So if you are the first downstairs group, then you save your Infernal for that part if you need it, if your group needs it. And if not, then you hold it for the second, and you'll still have it up by the intermission phase. So kind of working with your timing, seeing what group you're going to be in when you're going downstairs. If you're staying up top the whole time, then you don't have to worry about it. Demo is also really viable on this fight. Brings a lot of single target. And also it does way more damage in the upstairs phase when it's just Anduin than Destruction does. However, Destruction has that insane burst and that insane RNG potential with Reign of Chaos. So that way, like, you can get crazy procs during the phase and kind of just pop off and kill the boss. Hopefully this is helpful. This fight is definitely kind of tough. It took about 3 or 4 rounds of nerfs before guilds started really killing it. So hopefully this is helpful to you guys progressing on this. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.